Hey guys, good morning, everybody. Today is Wednesday, April 3rd. It is 6:21 right now. Market's gonna open in about 9 minutes. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up this room real quick and we'll get started shortly with our analysis for today. It's got a couple of things here to update and we should be good to go. All right. Looks like we are good to go here. Let me get this link sent out to you guys here in the premium. All right, as people join in, I'm going to go ahead and start marking liquidity over here on the daily chart. All right, going down to the 8 hour. Going down to the 4 hour. Going down to the 2 hour. Going down to the 1 hour. Going down to the 30-minute. Down to the 15. Down to the 10. And it looks like we're good to go. So let me go down to the 1 minute over here. So I have liquidity markup right here from the daily down to the 10-minute, guys. Closest level of liquidity is down below over here at 39,440. There's another level right below. Looks like this is probably going to get hit pre-market. I mean, we'll see what happens here, but it looks like this is probably going to be hit pre-market. So good morning, everybody. It looks like majority of you guys are here so far. Today's Wednesday, April 3rd. It's 6:25 right now. Market's going to open in about 5 minutes. I've marked liquidity here. Closest level of liquidity is down below at 39,440. And the closest level above is going to be at 39,492. So these are going to be the two closest levels of liquidity. This lower level looks like it might get hit pre-market, but we'll see what happens in the next 5 minutes. Going over to our clean chart, I'm going to mark up 6:30 over here. Mark set at 8 o'clock right here. And I'm going to go ahead and go up to the 4-hour time frame to identify structure. So we've got structure up here. We've got structure down below. Going down to the 1-hour time frame. That's about it. So it looks like there's no ceiling here. Going back down to the 1 minute, there's only structure here for the 4 hour on both ends. We have the 4 hour support down here. Every time I try to type this, someone jumps. All right, let me see if I can get this on. And this text button is always hard to click on for some reason. All right, 4 hour support level. All right, so here's our clean chart. We have the 4 hour support level right down below. And that's pretty much it. We'll see what happens here when the market opens. That'll mark up opening price to see where price pushes from here. Here's the BB3 chart, guys. So for the BB3 right now, we actually do have a bottom right here. So the BB3 might happen on open if we do get a buy signal here. So we'll keep a lookout for that. For the PRB over here, it looks like the PRB might be for a sell again. Compared to yesterday, right now we're currently in a bearish trend, so this might be for a sell. Looking over here at our main chart, I believe we had some news this morning. Let me check the calendar real quick. We had news at 4 o'clock and 5:15. So let me mark that up real quick. 4 o'clock, 5:15. 5:15 is right here. And 4 o'clock was right here. All right, other than that, we have news at 6:45, high impact S&P Global Services PMI, which is inflation news. So we have news at 6:45, 7, and 7:30. A lot of news this morning. So I'm hoping we get that entry pretty early on. So 6:45, 7, and this is why we can't avoid news, guys. So we talked about this before, trying to avoid news. It's impossible to avoid news because news happens every day at the same time. And that's like right in the middle of the session. So we're unable to avoid news. There's a pending buy signal over here. If this buy signal closes, there's not going to be able to be a breakout V3 on open, unfortunately. But we'll see what happens here in the next few minutes, if this holds or if it ends up disappearing. So we were looking for a BB3 here on open because we do have the double body, double wick rejection down here. However, the buy signal is coming up here pre-market. So unfortunately, it's not going to line up with what we're looking for. Would have been nice, but it's unfortunately not going to play through here. So yeah, no breakout B3 there on open. I'll just take this off because it's no longer useful to us. Price is pushing up right here. And we got no liquidity hit yet. And market is going to open up in about 40 seconds. So guys, yesterday we talked about making some changes to the BB3 strategy. I talked to Nick yesterday and a couple other people. It just doesn't really make sense to make any changes. I've done the data for it, and it's about the same. It's like literally the same. If we were to cut off the positions if we were to cut off the positions at 5 minutes in, it would actually be less profit from last month, and it'll be slightly in profit this month. So it just doesn't make any sense to make any changes to the strategy. So we're going to keep the strategy as is. I've done budget tests. There's nothing that could have been done differently with the data that we have so far. So we will continue to apply the strategy as applied. And the main difference that I think I'll be doing moving forward is I'm going to be adjusting my risk weekly instead of daily. So instead of adjusting my risk based on how many wins, losses I have for the week or for the day or for the time period, I'll be adjusting my risk to the week. And I'll discuss that further later on in the session once we have more time. Right now, market is now open. So I'm going to go ahead and mark up opening price right here. You guys can see how crazy the price is moving right now, which is pretty normal for a heavy news day like this. So there goes opening price right there. There's no PRB entry yet. So price is coming right back down, which is kind of expected. I'm actually glad we didn't have an entry right here on open because this thing's moving pretty crazy right now. There's a pending sell signal here, but there's no double body, double wick. So there's no entries for us to look for at the moment. All right, let's go, guys. Yeah, and I agree with Sam too here. I think we need to stop because I cut yesterday was kind of my fault, guys. I cut a corner yesterday. Sam said that the main difference with that might be useful is to make sure that the double body, double wick is a reversal pattern and not just two red candles or two green candles. I agree with you 100%, Sam. That was my bad yesterday. I was getting kind of FOMO yesterday, waiting for the entry to come up, and we entered the position and it wasn't, um, it wasn't what we were looking for. So, and I even said it before we pulled into that position. I said, okay, this isn't typically the double body that we look for, double wick that we look for. And I still took it anyways because I was just, getting FOMO with the trade. So, I think we all had FOMO. We were all waiting for that entry to come up. So, moving forward, we have to look for an actual reversal pattern. It has to be two different colored candles. Even if it's a double body with two red candles or double body with two green candles, that's not a reversal pattern. It's just a glitch in the system, basically. Not a real glitch, but it's sort of a glitch because these candles are supposed to be opposite of each other, that you're not supposed to have them on the same level. Like for this right here, this is not supposed to happen. Two red candles next to each other because they're supposed to be offset. If it closed down here, it's supposed to be dropping down further from that point. So yeah, I think that's the main thing. I have to just be a little more cognizant of like what's going on in the market and like how the candles are looking, not necessarily just for specific double body or double wicks. I think also because people keep asking me the same question about the double body, double wicks, that kind of confused me a little bit yesterday, guys. So I'll try to do a better job of identifying them and choosing them properly. I don't know. Yet this past week or these past couple of days, we've been getting so many questions about double body, double wicks, and it kind of throws me off too because I know it's how it's supposed to look, but wait a second. Good thing I caught that on my Ninja Trader. I was like, the candles look different because I was on ES, not YM. Okay, there we go. Candles look way different. Sorry, I thought I had the wrong data on, or my data was lagged, but I was on the wrong symbol. Right, Nick? Nick said that could have been fun. Yeah, the candles are way different. I thought it was kind of messed up right there. But anyways, there's no entries for us right now, guys. There's no double body, double wicks. There's no PRB setting up here just yet until the trend is confirmed. Looking over here on our main chart, again, there's no trend yet, so there's no confirmation of any entries at this very moment. As we discussed earlier, liquidity right here just got hit full TP. If anybody caught that, nice work. I think Maddie caught it. So there goes the liquidity right there. All done with. And here we go as price continues to, obviously go sideways here. So here's our clean chart. I'll come back to this later to markup structure. As you guys can see, price is pretty much in a very big range right now as price goes back and forth. And going back to what I was saying earlier, guys. So, I talked to Nick and a couple other people here in the group about changes that need to be made. There's no changes that need to be made to the specific strategy. The changes need to be made to risk. You guys have to remember that the strategy we anticipate it to be a net one win strategy per week, right? So we're expecting to have one win per week. And that's like the average. Obviously, some weeks will be better, some weeks will be worse. Last week was a little worse because we had two losses. So it was two net loss. The week before that was a break-even week, and then this week is break-even currently. We're only in our third day of the week, so we have a lot of time left in this week to bounce back to one net win. But for the most part, I think what I'll be doing is I'll be keeping my contract size the same for the entire week. So I'm going to calculate my risk on Monday to have 5 back-to-back losses. And I'm just calculating for the worst case scenario, right? Like worst case scenario, like the whole week loses, which is probably never going to happen. But that will make it pretty much impossible for you to blow your accounts. So right now, what I'm doing is I need to get myself out of this hole. And once I get out of this hole, I'm going to adjust my risk where I'm taking very, very little risk. I know right now we have 4 back-to-back losses as our risk parameter, but the problem is that I keep changing my contract size when we have a win. So for example, on Monday we had a win, I adjusted my contract size, and then we had a loss yesterday. and then I ended up losing more than I should have. I should be at break even right now, but I'm currently like slightly in the red. I'm like down $200 on some accounts, which is because I increased the contract size by one. Um, so just moving forward, that's kind of my plan. I'll give you guys a little more details probably next week or once I get out of this hole. I'm currently in pretty low trailing drawdown right now, so I need to get out of this hole first before I can really make any changes. So yeah, once I get out of this, then I will give you guys the details of like what's going to be adjusted and stuff. It's not a lot of stuff that's going to be adjusted, but it's just going to be the contract size per week. All right, so we have Maria said this may help to understand candle links. Thanks, Maria. Yeah, so Maria shared something in the Zoom if you guys want to download it. I just downloaded it as well. I'll take a look at it later. But thanks, Maria, for that. Yeah, so there's a double body right here, but it wouldn't matter because we can't take a buy here. So the double body is kind of relevant at this moment. I'll mark it up, but it's irrelevant for us specifically because there's a buy signal here already. So we do have the double body rejection here. This is a valid double body. So you can see here that they're two different colors. They're on the same level. This is a valid double body. But yeah, just like I said, unfortunately there's not going to be an entry that we can take here because there's a buy signal. But I'll mark it up there just for you guys to look at. Looking over here at the PRB, there's still no PRB entry because the trend has not been confirmed. Once the trend confirms, we can start looking for a possible PRB entry. But right now, at this very moment, it is not available. Here is our main chart. Nothing here because the trend has not confirmed yet as well. Here's our liquidity chart. As you guys can see, the range is pretty wide. Here's our clean chart. Let me see if I can mark up structure now. Okay, so it looks like there's room for structure here. This is going to be the 1 minute resistance level. All right, so we got that right there. But again, there's just not much here for us to look at. There's no buy signal that can come up. So unfortunately, there's nothing that we can take here. There's nothing that we can take away from, the pattern here, of course. So one pattern that I've kind of noticed too is when you get a double body, double wick, and it's followed by another following candle, typically pushes in that direction. That's one thing that I started to notice lately. I was trying to figure out some different variations to the strategy, but I mean, it's pretty much fine as is. So there's not really much that needs to be changed. But the pattern that we look for the BB3 works in a lot of different ways. Like sometimes you don't really need momentum. Momentum's obviously a good confirmation, but it's not super necessary. All right, William, we'll see you back here tomorrow. All right, so there's still no entries here. The trend's starting to shift a little bit, so we might be able to identify a PRB entry here. So Eddie's asking, can you repeat what you noticed? Yeah, so if you see a V1 pattern, like see the V1 double body pattern right here, you can see how it's a reversal pattern, right? Price comes down, it's a green candle, of course, next to it. When it's followed by a green candle like that, it typically pushes in that direction further. It's very similar to the breakout V3 pattern. There's just no momentum there. I mean, I just started to notice it. I don't know if it's like something that happens very often or it's just something that happens every so often. But I mean, it's pretty clear. Like for example, here, double body, red candle. It comes down a little bit. It doesn't come down a lot, but it does come down a bit. Like for example, here, V1 pattern right there, double top or double body for the higher high, 2 red candles, and it comes down lower. So yeah, if it's something you want to look at, I mean, you can go back and look at the data. I just started looking at it and I started to see it yesterday. But you know, your eyes kind of trick you sometimes. If you're looking for something specific, your eyes will tend to show you what you're looking for. So it just might be happening right now. It might not be something that happens very often, but it's something that might be useful in the future. Like it might be good, it might be useful as another confluence, basically. All right, so we have a PRB that's setting up right here, guys. We have the rejection right there. We're looking for the space consolidation candle next, and then we'll look for the retest. We have news over here at 645, 7, and 7:30. Well, this one's kind of irrelevant, but because this cutoff is at 7 o'clock anyways. All right, so we have the rejection right here. You're now looking for some space. There's no double body, double wicks right now, so there's nothing for us here to really look at the moment. We do have high impact news coming up right here at 645. And we have some more high impact news at 7. It's a lot of inflation news this week, guys. We have S&P Global Services PMI. It's inflation news, and we have more news over here for inflation regarding ISM Services PMI. So Global Services PMI and ISM Services PMI. And then we have Jay Powell speaking later today at 9 o'clock. There's a lot of stuff going on today, actually. A lot of stuff. So we will we'll see where this takes us. Anyways, there's still no levels here for us. So you got price pushing into the 1-minute resistance level. PRB could be setting up right now if it stays above this point. If this candle closes red, this will be a double body rejection right here. But it's not looking like it's going to. You also have news in 2 minutes. News at 6:45, 7, and 7:45, 7:30 action. All right, the price is flying right now a little bit as we get closer to news. Let's see what the news is forecasted to be. News is forecasted to be negative. So we'll see if it's actually negative or not. But it is forecasted to be negative here. All right, we got news coming in about 30 seconds. High impact news, forecasted to be negative. We'll see how market reacts to it. There's no double body, double wicks. There's no PRB entries. Nothing for us to take here at the moment. It's jam-packed news today. A lot of high impact news all throughout the day. And then I think at 11, or sorry, not 11, at 7:30, it's just gas stock change, which is typical. It's every Wednesday. Yeah, it's just gas stock change, nothing different. Oh, and big congrats to Jack here. So if you guys saw Jack, Jack is top 3 for TFF. So Jack's been killing it. He's been top leaderboard for a lot of different prop firms for the past couple months. So he's been on fire. So nice work right there, Jack. Getting number 2 on TFF. And I think Eunice might be on here too. We saw Eunice down here. I'm not sure if this is the Eunice, but he's down here number 10 as well for TFF. So great work right there, Jack. He's been killing it. Oh gosh, yeah. Jack's almost won, but not yet refreshed. Yeah, so he's gonna be number 1 by the end of today. Nice work, Jack. Keep it going. Yeah, you've been killing it on that leaderboard every single month. Just solid. All right, guys. So looking at this over here, here is the news candle. Mark this up right here as news price. Take this off right there. I'm not going to mark a news price here, but there is news right there. PRB is still setting up. There's no double body, double wick, so there's nothing here yet for the BB3. It's our clean chart. We have a new high up here. a new resistance level. All right, news was mixed. Thanks, Maddie. So we had bullish news for ADP employment change, and we had negative news for PMI, and the other PMI was just flat. So it's pretty much mixed. Not really too much to work with there. So we do have the PRB here that is starting to set up. We have the rejection down here. We have the space consolidation candles right here. Now you're just looking for the next rejection right there. So if we get a wick rejection off the pivot, this is going to be the entry for the PRB for anybody who's looking to take it here. I'm not taking, I'm sticking to the BB3, but yeah, this here is going to be setting up shortly. There's no double body, double wicks, so not really much for us to look at or take here as we continue to wait for the setup. So this here might be the PRB entry for you guys if we're looking to take it. So if it closes, I'll mark it up here. I'm not taking the position, but for you guys who are looking to take it, it is going to be setting up pretty soon. It's got 20 seconds left on the candle, so it's still got a lot of time. The upper level liquidity right here got hit already. I don't know if anybody here caught that. But the upper level here did get hit. This one didn't hit yet. It's still running. All right, so it looks like price just faked out. So it did a huge fake out up here. Now it's coming right back down into the range. The original range was down here anyway, so I was expecting price to bounce around this area. But you guys can see the huge fake out. Price faked out up here, and it came right back down into the range, which is kind of no surprise. We saw this yesterday. Same situation happened. No PRB yet. This red candle here didn't reject off the pivot. There's another opportunity right here that might be sitting up. Oh yeah, so the liquidity here actually would have been avoided, guys, because this was based off news. This was a 645 candle. It happened right at news. So this would have been skipped anyways. I don't think anybody takes liquidity at news. The red flags still apply for liquidity, especially news. All right, so we got price coming back down right here. We'll see if we get a double body at some point to ride it back up, but right now we just don't have anything. Okay, so here's the PRB, guys. The PRB is running right now. It's currently running in drawdown. Again, I'm not in this position, but I'm just marking it up for you guys here to see. But this here is a PRB for anyone who is looking to take it. I'm not in this position, so I don't have any stake in it. I'm looking for my BB3 here to come up. So let's take a look at the fundamentals over here. Thanks, Nick, for sending us that. So looking over here at CNBC, it's pretty much flat across the board. It's flat for the Dow. It's only up 2 points, so it's not really one-sided. The S&P is currently down 3 points, so that's also flat as well. Nasdaq's down 53 points, which is not very heavy. Typically, in order for you to have some sort of bias, you need it to be above or below 100 points and consistently above that point. Right now, we don't have that, so there's not really much of a direction here with regard to the fundamentals. Looking over here at retail sentiment is currently 64% short, same place where it was yesterday. 63% short now, so it's pretty much neutral. Not really neutral, but it's still bullish, but slightly on the neutral side because it's so low. But yeah, other than that, there's not really much else here to look at. There's no double body, double wick, so there's nothing for us here to take at this moment. This NFP is not as smooth as it was last month. Typically, NFP is going to be hit or miss. It's either going to be really smooth or it's going to be really choppy. And it seems like this week's been super choppy. Monday was good. Yesterday was super choppy. And then again, today is super choppy. It looks like price just continues to sit within the range. We do have Jay Powell speaking later today. So I was looking at the news this morning from CNBC, and it said that the Atlanta Fed President Bostic sees only one rate cut this year. And it's going to happen in the fourth quarter. So this is going to be in line with what Powell's going to speak about today. I think Powell's just going to confirm this. He might not confirm that there's only one rate cut, but he's going to confirm that, this might be the case. So if that's the case, that means we're not out of this somewhat of a recession yet, and that the market is still going to be kind of crazy for a bit, at least until the elections start to go underway. So yeah, I'm not really expecting too much from Powell. There's not really too much for him to cover because everything's pretty much been mixed. I think the only thing he's really going to discuss is going to be rate cuts this year, which they're not expecting much of. All right, so there's no double bodies here yet. Looks like the PRB is not going to play out today, which is fine. The PRB has been hitting. I think the PRB is currently on a win streak right now. I mean, it's been on a win streak for the past couple of weeks. So if it doesn't hit today, it's just one of those days where it was due for what we would call retracement on the charts. It's been climbing pretty much for the past 2-3 weeks now. Yeah, Omar said he's just going to yap and the market's still going to go crazy. Yeah, we'll see how the market reacts to it later today. Yeah, exactly. Nick said it lost last midweek, I think on Wednesday. Yeah. So maybe Wednesdays are the bad luck days for the PRP. So the PRP is still technically running, guys. It actually didn't hit its stop loss yet. You can see over here because there's a line right there. So you guys can see how this line is connected to the current candle. The trade's still technically running. So the PRB might have a correction back up. Either way, it's not really relevant to us because we're looking for the BB3 here. In order for us to have a BB3, we need to have a double body rejection. I was hoping we'd get some sort of double body rejection here on the bottom so that this could be in line with the PRB and we can ride this up with it. However, it's not here yet. So fortunately, we just gotta wait. Kind of curious. Well, I'll have to test it out a little bit. I'm kind of curious if like a double body, double wick might not even be necessary. If we can even just go for something like this, where price comes down and then you get the swing back up. Basically, a bottom red candle and a green candle to follow. Because I've noticed that sometimes the double body and double wicks, like they're super close, but they're not exactly at double body, double wick level. Like for example, this right here. Like this technically should have been a double body rejection. If you guys understand how these candles work, when this candle comes down and it pushes back up, it's supposed to be on the same level. But this right here is not on the same level. And this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, how there's like a glitch in the system sometimes because these candles are supposed to be lined up together. So for example, this right here, price pushes up and you get a red candle. These are supposed to be on the same level. If you're like, but the problem is that there's slippage. So there's slippage in between each candle. So that's another thing that I'll probably be testing over the next couple of weeks, because if that's the case, then the double body and double wick is probably not super necessary. I think the key thing is that you're following where the lows are at, because this establishes the bottom. So like for example, price comes up, this establishes the top with a green candle, it's followed by a red candle. So this is a reversal pattern. And then same with this right here, price comes down, this is a red candle, it's followed by a green candle. This is another reversal pattern. It's like a U shape. I think there's like a U shape button here, or there used to be. Yeah, it's like a U shape like this. So I'll have to go back and test that. It's just something that I've noticed before, like when I was first back testing the strategy, I noticed that like when you go on different contracts sometimes, because the data is not always going to be very accurate. Like if you go from like YM to like YMM 2024, the candles are going to be kind of weird because the data isn't going to be the same. If you go to YMH, the last contract from last month, you'll see that the contracts are like slightly like they're not going to be lined up. Like you'll like never see any double body, double wicks because the data is kind of skewed. Yeah, exactly. Sam said, notice that if price bounces off the red pivot, it's likely to continue in that direction. Yeah, no, definitely. Because that's like the strongest pivot. So like in order for price to get like switch in trend, it has to like cross that point. So if it rejects off the red pivot, it usually comes down pretty hard or it comes back pretty hard for a correction. So yeah, I agree with you too, Sam. Definitely something that I noticed too as well. Yeah, Omar said, I love trading futures because the stop loss actually holds even by 1 or 2 points, unlike CFDs, you'll get smacked. Yeah, no, the slippage is crazy on CFDs because they're all like manipulated for the most part. So we still don't have any double body, double wicks right now, guys. We'll continue looking for opportunity here, but like I said earlier, we're waiting for that first before we have any opportunity here. The PRV still hasn't, oh, I mean, it's still running, hasn't hit yet. Our main chart over here, this could be setting up for a pivot scalp. The only problem with this here is that it's like in between a lot of these news prices and opening price. So if this buy signal here closes, this could be a possible pivot scalp entry for anybody who's looking to take something that's risky. However, I would consider it a red flag because it's right at opening price, which is one of the areas that we try to avoid trading at. See, Kenny said, I noticed that when there's a double body or double wick before a pivot scalp, it tends to hit for 25 points. Yeah, exactly, Kenny. That's why I typically use that as a confluence for like almost every strategy. Like if you see a double body, double wick before like any other entry, it's usually a really good confluence because the double body, double wick indicates a reversal pattern, right? If you guys remember the variation V2, this is actually variation V2. Um, or actually no, variation V3. There's like three different variations that we used to apply for the reversal patterns. Um, the most basic one I think was the version 3, where you just look for the opposite candle to follow. So like a low with a red candle followed by a green, and this would be a reversal variation 3. There's three different variations to it. There's like a double body, double wick, and there's one where it's like a really big candle, and there's one where it's just opposite colors. And they all work the same way. They're all reversal patterns. So technically, that confluence could be used for the breakout V3. We got so many strategies, guys. So there's so many different patterns, so many different strategies that we've come across over the years. Some of the names start to kind of sound familiar, but I think a lot of people kind of forgot about the reversal variation V3 or variation 3, which was that was actually one of the main strategies we supplied back then. The double body, double wicks didn't happen a lot in the past, so we actually kind of made it simpler. But I mean, either way, there's no momentum here that's come up. We have news coming up in about a minute, guys. This is high impact news as well, so just keep that in mind. High impact news for ISM services PMI. So we'll see how it reacts to it. The PRV is still running right now. Again, the PRV is running for a long time. This strategy is supposed to hit like right away. You know, these breakout strategies are supposed to come out like straight out the gate and go straight to TP within the first couple minutes. But this thing's been running for, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Over 11 minutes now. It's a long time for a breakout, which is kind of surprising because the ATR isn't super bad. Looks like the PRV is about to hit. Yep. There you go. Full TP on the PRV, guys. But that was based off news. So you guys can see the news candle right there is huge. And the PRV went straight to full TP. And liquidity over here got hit as well. But again, it was based off news. So, I mean, I wouldn't have taken this liquidity here. It would have hit, looks like. Yeah, it went straight through. So this is the trickiness of taking trades during news because you'll see the manipulation happen right here. The news was negative. That's not even where it's supposed to go. So the news was negative. This big push up is just super manipulation right now. So ISM services PMI high impact, it was negative, worse than expected, but price still went up. So this is what I'm talking about. Like when I discuss news with you guys, it doesn't matter if the news is positive or negative. It just matters what the market wants to do. Super, super tricky. So here we go. This price might correct back down. If I'm hoping we get a double body or double wick on the top side, because if we get that, then price is going to correct back down to opening price where it should be based off the news. Yeah. Drew said smack the sellers. Yeah. No, exactly. That's really what it was. It just got manipulated. Everybody was expecting it to be negative. So the news at over here at 6:45 was negative as well, right? So it was negative, and then they were expecting this to be negative. And I mean, did the complete opposite. Basically, whoever was banking on the news just got wiped out. And I've seen people trade like that. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen people trade like that too, who trade news just news by itself, and they get smacked around all the time. Like they get lucky every so often, but news is tricky because you'll get caught in a lot of slippage. Like the slippage is crazy. Maybe not as much as futures, but when you traded forex back then, like it's so easy for it to just go past your TP and not close you out, or go past your stop loss and not close you out. And then you're kind of just screwed at that point. All right, so we got price pushing up right here. I guess technically this would have been the breakout V3 if we were doing that setup that I was mentioning earlier. So if we were doing the way that I was mentioning earlier, where there's no need for a double body, double wick, where it's just a low with a red candle and a followed by a green candle, or the opposite, high with the green candle followed by a red candle. This right here technically would have been the breakout V3 would have hit. And it was also a pivot scalp too. So the same pivot scalp that we were looking at earlier, guys, it finally came in, but again, it was a news candle, so it would have been skipped. But this could have been the pivot scalp that you could have taken if you wanted to take it. All right, so we're getting a double body rejection right here. Possible double body rejection that could be setting up for breakout V3. We got 20 seconds left on this candle. So this might be a correction back to opening price. I mean, the news was negative, so it should be coming back down if price is moving how it's supposed to. Yeah, because we have a huge gap right here now. So price is likely to fill the gap, come back to opening price. Keyword likely. Doesn't need to, but it's likely. So again, we have the double body rejection right here. We have another resistance up here. Looks like this might be the new range. All right. So we'll see where this goes. I mean, it's kind of a tricky area to trade in because it's a big risk to try to ride this back down. I mean, it's a big risk to ride this back down. It's also a big risk to keep climbing it up. It's overextended. So I mean, just kind of it's a super tricky area just in general. But yeah, I guess we'll see. So we'll see what happens here next. Yeah, Drew said it might consolidate. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm expecting too. It might consolidate within this area, create a range up there. And it's also at the sessions too. Maddie mentioned. Yeah, it's currently rejecting off the New York high right here from yesterday. Yeah, so I think for the BV3, well, I'll have to test it a little more, but I guess we can use different confluences. It doesn't have to be a double body. Um, because they're the same thing, like the same pattern that we're looking for, where it's just like a low with a red candle or a high with a green candle and an opposite color. They're both reversal patterns, but I'll have to look deeper into that. We have another double body right here. The problem is we can't take a buy yet because there's no buy signal that's available. We need a sell signal in order for us to have opportunity to take another buy here. So although there's a double body right here, there's not going to be any entry that's going to set up for, you know, the obvious reasons. And we're getting another double body right here. So if this candle closes red, there's going to be another double body. This again also is where it's getting a little tricky, because if you guys remember, this happened a couple days ago, if not like last week, where like the high lows were almost at every other candle. And we're getting a lower high right here. So if this closes, another structure right there. So it's the consolidation that Drew just mentioned earlier. I was kind of expecting the same thing, especially after a big push like that. A lot of consolidation and then possibly a continuation at some point. So we do have a pending sell signal right here. We got a lot of time on it though. It's 30 seconds left on this candle, so we'll see if it holds. Twenty seconds left on this candle. So if it closes, we'll be looking for a possible red candle to follow it, and that will be the breakout V3 for the day. We still got 10 seconds left on the candle, so we'll see if it holds down. The good thing is that the candles are moving pretty smooth. They're not blocky like they were yesterday. It's actually looking pretty decent. All right, so there's like 40 seconds left on this candle, so it's a lot of time until it ends up closing. Yeah, exactly. Akil said that it looks like an M shape. Yeah, it does. M shape back down to opening price. The only problem here is that the candle's kind of big, but I mean, it's not a huge problem. I just don't like when the candle's too huge, because when the candle's too big, it's usually like due for some retracement. So we got 10 seconds left on this candle, guys. I'll be entering this breakout V3 right here. 4, 3, 2, 1. This right here is the
Order filled. Order filled.
breakout V3 entry. So let's set this up right here.
Order submitted.
So now we just gotta wait. Everything's set up, and now we just gotta wait. So, you know, we're expecting it to push back down to opening price, which is good for us because our TP is in that direction. Looking at this here, I mean, everything looks pretty much fine for the most part. I mean, the fact that we have a staircase over here for double bodies is even better, because we had a double body right here, double body right here. So this kind of indicates that, you know, price is likely to keep dropping from where it's currently at. And then also on top of that, we have our target price point, which is going to be opening price down here as well. So kind of lines up with our analysis here. The only problem is that we're kind of trading off a news candle, which is what makes it a little tricky, because this push here was based off news and this here is just the correction back down. And we're also using the correction based off the news as well, right? Because we have the news that came out earlier was negative. So we're expecting the correction back to the downside based off the news. So we just gotta wait. I mean, it's probably gonna take some time for it to come down, but the ATR right now is currently at 20. So it's not super slow. It's also not super fast how it's moving. So I'll probably use this over here, the main chart, as our analysis here to see where price goes. Price is rejecting directly off the pivot right here. So that's a good sign. It just retraced up a little bit, came off the pivot right there. And then we'll look for the continuation down lower. So we got 20 seconds left on this candle, a lot of time. ATR is currently at 20 right now. So there's volatility. There's volatility, but just not very much movement, unfortunately. Movement's kind of slow right now. As it continues to, obviously go back and forth. There's no double body down here or the reversal pattern. Price is pushing back up to the sessions right here. So we might get a rejection off there to come back down. Let's see what we got here. This is why I don't like trading news, because there's a lot of manipulation that happens. Fuck, I got stopped out.
Order filled.
Yeah, so I got stopped out on that trade. So we're currently at a net 1 loss for this week, guys, unfortunately. So we are 1 net loss for this week. Yesterday was break even because we had a win on Monday, lost yesterday, and then lost today, unfortunately. But we're still on track to have the net 1 win for the week, which is what we're technically aiming for. So yeah, looking at this so far, it's not looking super great at the moment for this week, because we're currently at a net one loss. We would need 2 wins for Thursday and for Friday in order for us to have that net 1 win. So we need 2 back-to-back wins in order for us to bounce back into our net 1 win that we're forecasting. So other than that, one thing that I have to recommend is, if you guys are at your point where you're like at your last trade, you have to have your contract size. You can't just leave your contract size to what's it called? To let it just be blown, right? So what I did right now is I'm halving my contract size until I bounce back from it. That's pretty much what I'm doing here. And that's what I was mentioning earlier this morning. Let me put this back up. So that's what I was mentioning this morning as well, that moving forward, I'm gonna set my trades to where I have where my risk is gonna be based off the week instead of like by the trade. Because when you risk by the trade, it's a little too risky, because your net losses will just add up over time, right? So I'm gonna do it bi-weekly. So let me go ahead and add this to the Discord real quick. Man, that trade looked really good though. It just didn't play out how we wanted to, because the manipulation that's happening right here, obviously. This is why I don't like trading around news when there's big candles like this, because you'll see a lot of manipulation like this happen in the market. Everything pointed towards a sell, right? We had a staircase over here for the double body reversal. Price came back up, retraced, reversal right here. And the problem with this, well, the thing with this here that also lined up with my analysis was the fact that the news here was negative. So I was like, okay, if that's negative and it's been negative, it's going to correct back down, which unfortunately, it just slightly missed TP, I think by like a few points. Yeah, no, exactly. Omar said miss TP by 6 points. The problem with this here too, when price goes in a profit like this and it swings up, it really eats into your trailing drawdown like super bad. So yeah, unfortunately, my counts are still okay right now, but I'm not doing so great. I'm like getting close to like I really need the next two wins. If I don't have the next two wins, then my accounts are gonna be blown as well, which is not what I was expecting for for this year. But I'm down to my last trade. This is gonna be our net fourth loss. So here are my accounts right here. Unfortunately, it's a bloody account so far. And that's why I need to make adjustments to the risk because I was taking too big of a risk. You know, like last month we had such a great month that I figured, okay, I could just keep increasing my contract size. But the problem is that I was increasing too quickly. So moving forward, I'm just gonna have it set to where I just change the contract size weekly instead of daily. Because what happened before is like we were so deep in profit. We were so deep in profit. I had like 9,000 trailing drawdown, and then I just kept doubling up my position. So I was using the max contract size of 17 contracts at one point. And obviously, you know, you take two of those losses, that's basically like a 4 times loss versus just taking two losses. Because the risk for that was when I was taking 17 contracts, my risk was 2,125, where normally my risk would be 1,250. So yeah, unfortunately, I'll have to drop down to one contract and then just build up from there. Hopefully from here, this is where the win streak starts. And I'll build up from one contract and just keep going higher and higher and higher from there. Because one contract is going to be, let's see. Yeah, so 1 times 5 times 25. One contract is going to be 125. So I'm probably going to use something a little more than that. I'll probably use 2 contracts. Yeah, I'll probably use 2 contracts and I'm just gonna have to build my way up, unfortunately. So hopefully the next couple of trades are gonna be straight wins so that we can build up from there because I'm down to my last trade as well, or my last 2 trades right now. The problem with this here is that price went into profit and then it went back up. This is what happened yesterday too, and it eats into your drawdown. So instead of me just having a $1,000 loss on my drawdown, it actually went up higher because I ended up having the 1,000 drawdown loss from up here, and then I also had, you know, the drawdown from right here. So it's like a loss and a half into your trailing drawdown. And this is what kind of sucks about trailing drawdown is when you end up in a position like this, where it's like, it goes into profit really close to your TP and then it reverses on you. So unfortunately, looking at that, the BB3 did lose for today. PRB hit full TP over here. And then obviously the other smaller scalps and liquidity over here hit. So the BB3 is actually not, well, I mean, it's not bad because right now we're currently at we're just at one net loss. I mean, it seems bad because we haven't had a win streak like we had over the past couple of weeks, but technically the strategy is still running as it's supposed to. I just have to lower my risk. So other than that, we'll keep looking for any other entries here, but price is right at the session. So this is an area of manipulation here. Yeah, Nick said he's going to use 2 contracts. So now that we have some free time right here, I'm going to basically explain what I'm going to do. So typically, we will have 5,000 drawdown, right? So at the beginning of every week on Monday or on Sunday before the market opens, I'm going to calculate how many like what's my risk for the week if I'm going to calculate 5 back-to-back losses, basically a straight losing week, which never happens, right? We never have a straight losing week where every day is a loss. So this divided by 5, my risk is 1,000. So say, for example, today, or not today, say today was Monday and I had a brand new account, or my threshold is back to 5,000, right? If my threshold is back to 5,000, I would just put 5,000 there, divide that by 5, meaning 5 trades for the week. And then I would basically have my number right there. So from my number right there, that's where I'm going to be taking my risk. With my risk there, that's going to be 8 contracts. And then say, for example, the next week, say we win a couple trades and we're now at 7,000 drawdown, right? At this point, I'll do the same thing. On Monday, I'm going to divide that by 5. And then now my risk is going to be 1,400 for the week. Does that make sense, guys? And that's pretty much how I'm going to do it because I talked to Nick over the past couple of days. We're aiming for one net win a week. So we need to be able to weather the storm, right? The storm's going to go back and forth. You're going to have back and forth wins and losses. But what your main goal is to just stay afloat until the end of the week where you're going to have one net win. And when you have that one net win, your profit is going to add up slightly. So you're going to go from like 5,000 net trailing drawdown to like maybe 6,000 or maybe 7,000 or maybe 8,000, depending on how good the week is. And that's kind of how we're going to base it. So other than that, Steven said I'm back. Well, yeah, I don't know when you left, Steven, but I don't know if you took the PRB. This is the strategy that you typically take, the one that you said you weren't going to take, but you've still been taking for the past couple of days. The PRB hit, the BB3 here lost. There was a pivot scalp that came up right here and liquidity. So I don't know when you left, Steven, but there's a couple entries that came up from 7 up until now, past 22 minutes. Liquidity, pivot scalp, PRB hit full TP, and the BB3 here stop loss, unfortunately. Looks like price is coming back down. This is kind of what happened. This is kind of what happened last week when we traded during news time. And it sucks because we can't avoid news. Our trading times happen when all the news happens. So we trade between 6:30 and 8. And today there was 3 news events that happened right before. You're going to get a lot of manipulation when news happens. And then I personally wouldn't be surprised if this comes all the way back down. Right. So like, for example, right here, price pushed up, faked out, and now it's coming all the way back down to where it's supposed to go. So this is the downside of trading during news, but the thing is we can't skip it. Like we can't avoid it. This is where the volatility is. So we can't really hide from news. It just sucks because sometimes this happens with a lot of the positions. You get faked out and then price ended up coming right back down to where it's supposed to go. And I wouldn't be surprised if this comes back down. And I don't recommend anybody revenge trade this because I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking to revenge trade and get back into this position. Although I do think price will come down, I don't recommend you revenge trade because this thing could end like super bad if that becomes the case. So if there's any questions, guys, feel free to put them in the chat. That's kind of my goal moving forward. If I end up blowing my accounts, I end up blowing my accounts, right? I'm going to stay 100% transparent with you guys. This is trading. So you gotta prepare for the worst, and you also have to adapt with the market. So I think March was just too good to us, and we ended up taking way too much risk. So I think I remember I told you guys initially, I said, when I get funded, I'm going to lower my risk. I did the opposite. I increased my risk. So I said I was going to take smaller risks so I could basically make it impossible to blow my account. But I got greedy. So like earlier this week, I ended up increasing my contract sizes like way too high. Like I think so my drawdown was like super high at like 7,000 and 9,000. And I was taking 17 contracts, which is pretty crazy, right? Because I was just thinking of the profit potential. But sometimes the market just doesn't work that way. And unfortunately, I got caught with reality for the most part. So I mean, it's all good. It happens, guys. This is how you get better at trading. You understand where you make your mistakes, and my mistakes is that I increased my risk way too early. So I got funded, I think, on all my accounts like 2 weeks ago. And then I was so deep in profit that I ended up increasing my contract size way too high. So moving forward, I'm gonna keep my contract size low, and then I'm just going to take it slowly versus trying to get crazy profits like right away. And I think that's what happened with a lot of people here too. I think a lot of you guys ended up, your faith was like too deep into the BB3, where you just ended up taking like way too many risks and too many trades on top of that. Because the BB3 is still good. I mean, if you look at the data here, so let's pull up the data. So let me just copy this over. The strategy is good. Overall, on paper, the strategy is still really good. The only problem here is that we didn't forecast to have like the back and forth here. I was forecasting to have maybe like one loss per week, but I wasn't expecting to, because this was our plan initially. When we first started trading the strategy, our first plan with this was that, okay, we were expecting to make one win a week. But the problem here is that we started to expect 5 wins a week, right? Like so many wins every single day. And that's probably my fault too, because we were just thinking we were too, I wouldn't say optimistic, but we were too geared towards a winning streak, which this strategy is not built for a winning streak. This strategy is actually built to be break even, like slightly above break even. So let me go over here real quick. This was at 710. Yeah, because at best, this strategy is a break-even strategy. And break-even is fine if it's a one-to-one, and if you're using the same risk. The problem with me here is that I took like way too many big contract sizes, and now I'm kind of like stuck with this. And there's nothing that we can change with the strategy because we can't, for one, we can't avoid news, and for two, we can't cut it short because I guess no, even if we cut this one short here, it still would have been a loss because this would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it still would have lost either way. If this here was to be cut short. Let's see, trade period after high impact news. 6 points away from TP stop loss. And I put notes right there. So looking at this so far, if we were to do the math here, like realistically, the strategy is actually still really good. So looking at the numbers here, we had 14 wins plus 14 wins plus 7 losses. So we have total trade of 21 trades. So 14 divided by 21, we're still at a 66 or 67% win rate right now. With the strategy, which is really good for a one-to-one. Typically, one-to-one strategies are supposed to be around 50%, like around 50 to 52%. So we're still at a very good win rate. The profit overall from March up until April is 200 minus 25. We're still up 175 points. So if you were to do the math on this, 175 times 5 times 25, that's still 21,000 profit. So if you were to trade an account that didn't have a trailing drawdown, you should still be in profit for all trades from March until April, 21,875, right? This is just one account. So the problem here is that with Apex, we have a trailing drawdown. If we didn't have a trailing drawdown, it wouldn't be a problem. But the problem is that we do have a trailing drawdown, and it eats into our profits and into our ability to climb back up because it's just hard with the trailing drawdown that follows. But yeah, I mean, other than that, there's not really much else here for us to look at. The market's pretty flat now. The ATR is down to 16, which is not necessarily slow, but there's no direction in market over here as price continues to go back and forth. So looking at this here, here's our clean chart. We got this here, and this is going to be the 1 minute support level. There we go. 1 minute support level right there. And you guys can see that price isn't really going anywhere. If I turn this off, price is pretty much just going sideways right here. Sadie said, wait, market maker, get out of our group, right? Steven said, Sean, I didn't know you also get FOMO. Yeah, no, I get FOMO. See, everybody gets FOMO. It doesn't matter how good you get at trading. You still get FOMO, and you still get greed, and you still get everything still coming. Like you still feel the same way that you do as a new trader. It's just I'm better at controlling it. So I don't really get FOMO as much. But yesterday I got FOMO. That trade was not a good trade. And I think Sam mentioned it as well. So the trade from yesterday, guys, this was actually my bad. This trade should have been avoided because this right here wasn't a double body pattern. I mean, it was a double body, but it wasn't a double body pattern because typically you need one red candle and one green candle. So this trade over here should have been skipped. But I got FOMO yesterday, so that's why we took the trade. It looked good too, like with the analysis and the confluences. That right there, it looked good. And then also for this one over here, this the trade today was actually, I mean, everything kind of lined up perfect, but it just didn't play out how we wanted to. Because now price here is still just going sideways. Yeah, no, you're good, Omar. Nice, Jack. No, definitely. Yeah, keep up the daily winning level, and you're going to you're gonna be #1 on TFF again for the next month. Here, let's scroll up real quick. Let me see if there's anything else that I'm missing. Froyland said, but there won't be drawdown as long as you stay above the required number for M Apex, right? Well, so like last month, Froyland, like we had like a bunch of wins, so our drawdown was higher than normal. So like our max drawdown is typically set at 5,000, but because we had so many wins, my drawdown was like at like 9,000, and that's why I started increasing my contract size. But I mean, there's always going to be drawdown. You're always going to have drawdown. It's not going to go. It's not going to disappear. You still have it there, even once you're funded. You just have to pay attention to it. And the problem is, like, I kept increasing my contract size, and then we would lose. So what happened? Here's what happened with my accounts, and how I screwed up was. So on Monday, we had a win, right? So Monday was a win. I was using like normal contract size, 10 contracts, right? Tuesday was a loss, but I was using twelve contracts, right? Today was a loss. I was using 8 contracts, right? So this is where it kind of screwed me up. This is why my drawdown is so bad right now. Well, it's not like horrible, but it's pretty bad. It's bad because I keep changing my contract size. So I won on Monday, and then I increased my contract size because I was like, okay, I have extra drawdown here. So I increased my contract size. We lost on Tuesday, so I lost more profit. And then on top of that, we went into profit and it swung down. And when it does that, it eats into your drawdown. So if you guys remember the loss from yesterday, or we'll just use today's loss as an example. Price came down into profit, and I ended up having more than my anticipated drawdown because I lost this of my drawdown, and I also lost this here. So it kind of puts me in a tough position because it's like it's as if I would have taken 1.5 trades, almost 2 trades here, because it eats into my drawdown twice, basically. And that's kind of where I screwed up. And then today again, the same thing. So we had a win on Monday. I had a loss on Tuesday, which is a bigger contract size, plus more points lost because of the trailing drawdown. And then on Wednesday, we had a loss here, but the same thing happened. So this technically counted as maybe like 4 losses because my risk was higher, and it added up into my trailing drawdown. So that's kind of where I screwed up. It's like, okay, I should have lowered my contract size instead of going up on Tuesday. If I would have just used 10 contracts for each trade, I would have been perfectly fine. But because I increased it, it put me in a deeper hole, and then this put me in an even deeper hole because we lost 2 of them back to back. So that's because I mean that's basically what happened with the risk there. But there's no other entries here available right now. It's still at so you can see how price is coming down. If this thing kept running, it probably would have came down further. But we ended up stuck over here on the on the news movement. Let's see. Omar said, has this usually happened before with previous primary strategies you guys had used in the past, not including the over leveraging issue? Yeah, trailing drawdown was never a thing before, Omar. So we never had this issue to deal with. Like back then it was just your entire account. Like you could calculate your trailing your max drawdown for the lot not for the day, but for the entire account. Because you would just calculate it to the point where you blow your account. But with this, it's a little more complicated because you have to calculate, and then when you're doing an eval, it's even worse because you have to calculate the daily drawdown plus the trailing drawdown plus your full drawdown. Once you're funded, it's a little easier because you just have to focus on your trailing drawdown, but it's obviously it's slightly different. But yeah, it was never a problem before because we never had to calculate it this way. You can just keep increasing your contract size and you just base it off your max drawdown. Steven. Steven's our in-house singer over here. He's what is he? He's the Indian Michael Jackson. Is that what you call him, Maddie? Or no, not Indian. The Indian R. Kelly. That's who it was. The R. Kelly from India. Because Steven's Indian. Because he was in India. Because Steven was in India. Well, he goes to India like every year, I think, right, Steven? You have a trip to India. Steven always has like I know you're kind of new, Sadie, but Steven, he's been here for a while. He's had a lot of instances where he's trying to catch his plane to India and he's like trying to trade on his phone at the same time and he ends up blowing all of his accounts. Um, yeah, Steven has a lot of stories. If you've been here for a while, I think everybody here kind of knows Steven to an extent. Yeah, you remember that time, Steven, when you were at the airport and you were trying to trade and you ended up making like every mistake possible. Yeah, no, that's funny. And I was telling Steven, like, you should add me to your copier, but let me do the opposite. You should let everybody do that. You should start a hedge fund, Steven. You should be the trader and manage accounts, but do the opposite. So when you take a trade, just do the opposite. And I think everybody would do so good. Um, we should have did that before when we had the social trader tools. Where there was a function. I think there was a function on actual NinjaTrader too, where you can do that, where you could do the opposite trade. JJ said, when my days are going bad, I think about Steven. My days don't seem so bad. Oh man. Yeah, no, Steven's great. Steven said, if I'm R. Kelly, then you're Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, see, you crack us up, bro. Like, even though you ask like some random questions sometimes in the chat about trading, you could always come back with Steven being Steven. Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, guys, if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Unfortunately, we did eat the loss today for the BB3. I'm hoping that we're going to win the next couple trades because that's going to be the turning point, whether I keep my funded accounts or if I blow my accounts. But it's fine. If I blow my accounts, this is just a lesson learned. Moving forward, I'm probably going to take a lot lower risk for my trades. Once I'm funded. If I end up blowing my accounts and I do an eval again, I'm going to use moderate contract sizing so I can pass quickly. I'm probably going to do 300K accounts too this time instead of 150K accounts, which was my plan anyways. Initially my plan was to do 300K accounts. So I mean, maybe this was a sign that I needed 300K accounts to begin with. So we'll see. Yeah, JJ said, okay, Sean, thanks, bro. See you tomorrow. If I lose one more trade, I'm gonna have to become a stripper on the weekends. Uh, Omar said, what contracts we'd use for like 150K eval. So I would probably stick to 10. Let me see. So I probably still do the same thing that I'm already doing. Actually, you know what? What I might do is, let's see. So 5,000 times, obviously it's 1,000. So I think to pass the account it's 9,000, right? You know, I take that back. I think for the evals, I might just stick to what I'm already doing, and I'll just let it take some time for it to build. Because if I'm doing 9, I would just need 9 trades. Yeah, so I need 9 wins to pass, which I mean it's very possible. Like on March over here, we had 13 wins, 5 losses, right? So 13 minus 5, you'd be at 8, and then you'd be funded by the last win over here in April. So I probably would just use the same, or no, actually, I might just take more. I might do the 4 that I was doing before. So 5,000 divided by 4. Yeah, I would keep it at 10 contracts or more. Because if you're at 12, so 9,000 divided by 1250 would be 7.2, right? We had 8 wins for March, 8 net wins. So you would have passed in March. So yeah, I think if I end up doing an eval again, I'm going to stick to 10 contracts and I'm just going to leave it at that. 10 contracts until it passes. And then from there, I will lower the risk. Or if I'm doing a 300K, it's going to be slightly different. So yeah, because the 300K count over here is profit goal is so much higher. It's just going to take longer to pass. So the trillion drawdown is 7,500 divided by 4. 1,875, that's 15 contracts. So 20,000 divided by 75. Yeah, it's just going to take longer. So the 300K count would be okay, but it's going to take longer. It's going to take maybe 2 months to pass. Which I mean is fine. Long-term wise, it's not bad. So yeah, we'll see. Let's see, 677 times 80. It's only 135 per account. Yeah, I don't mind it. I could get 20 of those accounts. 2,000. Yeah, it's not that bad. Yeah, so that might be the case. All right, guys. So if there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, let's see. Maria said I reset my evaluation yesterday. $40 for a 150K. Nice. Yeah. So they have the promos going on right now. I think they end at the end of the month. So you guys have time if you guys need to reset or if you guys need to upgrade. But I'm definitely going to be upgrading my accounts to the 300K accounts. I'll probably start with like 10 accounts first, and then I'll just stagger them out. So I don't have like a crazy bill at the end of each month of 2,700. Because then I would have to, so this is how much I would have to pay to open 20 accounts. And then I'm expecting this to run for like about 2 months. So I'm gonna have to pay 2 of those, 5,416. And then when I get funded, 280 times 20, another 5,600. So I'll be pretty much investing about 10K into this. But then once I get funded and I start making payouts, it'll be all well worth it. So, all right, guys, I think that's about it for today. If there's any other questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, looking over here at the clean chart, you guys can see there's not much going on. Prices within the range that we were discussing earlier. In the same range that's been in pretty much all day. Looking over here at BB3, this thing never came back down. PRB hit full TP. And then there's nothing else here. So, all right, guys, I think that's it for the day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for the next live session as we continue to climb our way out.